Castlevania 3 for the NES. Going for $999,999. This run will make my previous Wizards and Warriors run look like Candyland. Looks pretty simple when you first start off. Looks like, okay, no problem, right? Well, we'll see about that. Obviously, the idea in this game is you want to take your time, get your points. You're only allowed 5 lives, so you can do whatever you have to do to get the max out score, except for bleaching candles and money bags, which I learned my lesson on that a long time ago. Don't go up and back and up and down the stairs. Don't do it. The most important weapon in this game, in my opinion, is probably the firebomb. In some cases, you won't need the firebomb. That does not mean I'm telling you, well, try to beat the game without the firebomb, because what I'm about to show you, what I did to pull this run off without using the firebomb in certain sections was unbelievable. I actually amazed myself. So this is basically just the first stage. I was going to do the whole run from beginning to end, but I actually did this the right way. I actually played the hard way. I mean, there's cheesy ways where you can do it to max it out, but I did this the hard way, so there'll be some, you know, pausing in between. You want to build up your hearts to as high as possible, especially when you're going for a max out score. The more hearts, the better. And you can only get so many hearts, depending on what stage you're in and depending on what kind of enemies come out. You gotta be really careful, though. The littlest mistakes can cost you the entire run, have you start all over again. It does not take much, folks. Like, it could look like that I'm doing really well and technically I might have to reset. It doesn't take very much. Lose your weapon once in a certain stage and it's all over. Because there's certain stages you're not going to beat without the firebomb. This is a good area for leeching some points here. Get the 3 zombies here with the holy water. You get 100, 400, and 700. You can do that up to about 50 somewhat times. In some cases you can add, you know, grab extra hearts and things like that. So this is a good point pressing area. Another good area you want to be here is the clock level. Nice thing about this is it's not really great for point pressing, but in order to get the max out score of 9999, in my opinion and others' opinions, it is imperative that you grab Grant. Grant becomes very helpful in certain stages. When you get to the clock tower stage, you definitely want to grab the stopwatch. There is no question about that. Definitely want to have the stopwatch, because you make one mistake on this clock stage and you just got to start your whole run over. Remember, you're only allowed 5 lives, so 1 death can end the whole entire run. He's pretty simple. You don't even need a weapon really to take care of him. Your whip pretty much will do the trick. And that's really basically it you have to worry about with him. But he becomes so helpful in other stages, and you'll see why here in just a moment. Another good point pressing area right here would be with these bats, or whatever you want to call them, evil eagles, whatever they are. Don't need your weapon. I've seen a couple of runs where people use the weapon and try to maximize. It's not important. They're worth 300 points apiece, so if you hit 2 of them with a boomerang, one's worth 300, one's worth 400. It's really not worth it. You don't want to go down below 70 seconds, in my opinion. That could really cost you the run. But yeah, those, you know, there are ways to point press in this game. There are a lot of ways to get points pretty darn fast, and if you know what you're doing and doing it right. Again, I don't recommend doing it the cheesy way, because then what kind of accomplishment do you have? It is possible to get a perfect score without even looping the game, but who wants to do that, right? So here's another good point pressing area for about 20 or 30 seconds. You get a bunch of these. They're about 400 apiece. The statue dragons, I call them. That's what I always call them. And then of course the hunchbacks, they're not worth much, but if you can get them keep reappearing, you could have points. I don't really mess around with that, because that could cost me a run real easily. And then the next stage is where we're going to really point press. And we'll get to that here in a minute. And with this, you really don't want to go below 20 seconds. You know, but These give you ideas of how you want to point press your points. You know, and you're going to see how my points start racking up real fast here. The dagger's not the weapon to have, but unfortunately that's what I grabbed accidentally in this run at one point. So we are going to go to the marshlands pit. That's what I call it, because being from New York, we have these things in the back of schoolhouses called marshlands. That's what it looks like to me. People call them swamps or whatever. Frogs are worth a few hundred points a piece. Not really recommended though for leeching, you know, to get points to rack them up. It's not going to really help you, and it also could cause you to get killed. Now when you go down these staircases is where you're going to really start racking up your points with the swamp pits of the marshlands with these mud-covered mummies. Or whatever the heck they are. They look like Swamp Thing to me. Swamp Thing that turns evil. As you can see, I'm just being very casual and careful. I'm not going crazy. Don't need the axe, but I'm grabbing it because I want to get rid of that stupid dagger. Get the cross there. A lot of ways to rack up hearts. That's the most important thing. You want to have as many hearts as possible, both for racking up points and then when you fight the enemy. That's why Grant's so important, because you want to either have the stopwatch or the axe, depending on the situation. But it just depends on what you're trying to do. See, in this case right here, I could have gotten a few points here, and I missed on the opportunity because of the fact that I didn't have the boomerang, which would have flew through those enemies. Here you want to be really careful. I've made a couple of mistakes. I've hit with the axe before and got the boomerang too soon. You want to kill that thing off and then get these floating skeleton heads with arms before you actually go back to get your boomerang. Then you get your boomerang, then you've also got an extra heart. Now you're up to 80 hearts just like that. You could also very easily lose the hearts. You hit them too soon, then they disappear when you're trying to fight off the enemy. So now I have 87 hearts. I'm going to turn to Grant now because I want to get Grant the stopwatch in case we need it later. Grant's really handy because he can climb walls. He jumps much higher than any of the other characters. He comes in handy for many things throughout the game. Although he is not used much, he is used when he's needed the most. Here it comes down to plain old skill and some luck. If you do it just right, you can get anywhere from 400 to 1,000 points on one single mummy swamp thing mud-covered enemy. In some cases you can get the first one for 100, then 400, 700, and 1,000. Sometimes you get screwed and only 2 come out, but you could usually get at least 3 to come out. So very simply, you can rack up 100, 400, 700, and 1,000 all in the same sitting, which puts you at over 2,100 points right there per hit, you know, if you do it right. So as you can see, I can rack up a lot of points, and this area is used for a bulk of my points. Another good area here for point pressing is this other stage with some mummies, the stage where you fight Dracula's son, Alucard. You can really rack up points fast here. What you want to do is get your hearts first. You could easily get over 200,000 right here, no problem, if you do it right, if you know what you're doing. I do it very well. So now I've got 21 hearts here, and I'm going to go up there and I'm going to point press, and I'm going to show you a little bit of how I do that here in a moment.